New York basketball is in a state of flux. And I will say this about the New York Knicks. I don't know what's going to happen to Tom Thibodeau in the offseason. I'm not going to say anything about what they have not done at the trade deadline, where they could have moved Julius Randle and gotten a piece or pieces to the puzzle where this team could be in the future. And R.J. Barrett looked like a beast on Friday night. He absolutely dominated on the court, even though they lost against a Miami team they could have beaten. But you look at this team, Leon Rose, and everything that he has put to the test as a new GM in this league, as a sports agent. You would have thought moving into a new season, being that they were a 4th seed last year, one of the best defensive teams in the league, that they were going to take 2 steps forward, not 6 steps back. But this team has not played like a team all season long. Julius Randle, who was comeback player of the year last year, he was a fantastic player throughout the season, really because there was no fans. As soon as the fans and after COVID-19 was lifted and the fans could actually go and watch the games, you saw the true colors of Julius Randle. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I can guarantee, I was the first person to say this, that Julius Randle cannot play in front of people. That the fans get into his head. We all know about Ricky Williams and the problems that he had as a football player. Why? And everybody asks, why did Ricky Williams wear these dark visors? Because he just had this fear of playing in front of people. Now, I don't know if that's the problem with Julius Randle, but he's a shell of himself for what he was in the beginning and the middle of the season of last year. We look at this team, and they added pieces in the offseason. Kemba Walker, who now is going to sit out for the rest of the season. The Knicks wanted to buy out his contract. He said he will not take the buyout, which makes absolutely no sense because the Knicks were practically going to pay him all the money that they owe him. So he's going into the offseason not knowing where he's going to go, if he's going to be a New York Knick. Maybe he knows something. Maybe he knows that Tom Thibodeau is going to be fired. Who knows what is going on in his head? But a lot of these stories that are coming out make absolutely no sense. And you look at some of the other pieces that they added. They tried to add shooters to this team. Really, what Leon Rose has done, even though they kept trading and moving down the draft, they added some good pieces. McBride looks like he could be a player. Grimes definitely could be a player. Quigley. Obi Toppin, even though he made a couple of mistakes on Friday night that you just scratch your head. Obviously, R.J. Barrett. You look at this team, you look at the New York Knicks as a whole, you wonder, who is Tom Thibodeau? Tom Thibodeau was coach of the year last year. Now you're hearing management might decide to part ways with him in his second season. Now, he doesn't like to play rookies. He doesn't want to play young players. He likes to play his veteran players, and that's fine if it works. It has not worked this year. They're a 12th seed in the Eastern Conference. They would be a lottery team in the draft for how many times in the last 25 years? I don't know. Have they found a star since they've been a lottery team in the last 25 years? The answer is no. They made trades that didn't work. Sending Kristaps Porzingis to the Mavericks so far has not worked. The pieces to this team and the puzzle to this team, I don't know where this team is heading. I don't know where this team is going. And as a New York Knicks fan, Speedy, I am not happy.
You wonder the sense of direction that they were going in, and it was obvious last year they needed more three-point shooting, so they tried that kind of thing. But when you realize that a lot of these veterans aren't working out, you have to adjust in some way. And maybe it's up to the front office to make that kind of adjustment, whether they get rid of Thibodeau or not. Now, they might end up having to force Thibodeau's hand if they end up trading Randle, if they end up trading other veterans, and have him make no choice but to force his hand to play the young players and test it out. Make him adjust his coaching style in order to make it work. Because we know he's a good coach. We know he's a great defensive mind. He wasn't coach of the year for nothing last year. So make it work for the young players. And then maybe you could definitely get players to trust him more. Get R.J. Barrett to trust him more. Get Emmanuel Quigley to trust him more. And not get shunned away in his coaching style. Because, yes, it's evident that him and the young players didn't work out. It didn't work out in Minnesota and forced a lot of these young players to have trouble developing there. They had a playoff appearance, sure, but it was supposed to be thought of as the Timberwolves and the Sixers were going to be these future identity teams. The Sixers have done well, but the Timberwolves have made one playoff appearance. So Tom Thibodeau has to be able to adjust to that kind of thing. And if he's not going to do it with the players there, the front office might not have a choice but to just try to purge these assets. Kemba Walker now refusing the buyout. He'll probably be traded in the
Which makes no sense. Does that make any sense to you? He's going to get practically all the money that the Knicks practically owe him. And he will not take the buyout. Now, there has to be something with this on the reasons why he doesn't want to take the buyout. But he has agreed that he's not going to play for the rest of the season. None of it makes sense. Now, maybe he thinks that he's going to re-injure any of the problems that he's had in the past, maybe his knee and when he can't play next year. I don't know what Kemba Walker is thinking. But if you look at his numbers, it is the worst NBA season he's ever had since he stepped on an NBA court. 11 points. He's averaging, 4 assists, 5 assists a game. He's been a horrible addition for the New York Knicks. And I am one that will not throw Kemba Walker under the bus because really for the last 12 years or 10 years that he's been in the league, I am the biggest Kemba Walker fan. I love Kemba Walker. As a player, he's really helped New York basketball as a point guard. How many New York point guards walked into the league and become the player Kemba Walker became? Stephon Marbury was one of them. Was Stephon Marbury a great NBA player? I would say he was a borderline decent NBA player. There were great years, all-star years, and there were fallout years. I think Kemba Walker, for the 9 to 10 years he's been in the league, besides maybe the last 2 or 3, this guy has been an all-star. He's been one of the best point guards in the league. So I'm not going to rant and rave and attack Kemba Walker that he's making the wrong decisions and not helping his position as a player in the NBA. But I do look at the New York Knicks. I don't know where this team is going. I don't know what this team identity is. And that's what scares me more than anything. Right. When you think of, you're looking for addition of growth. And I don't see this team growing. Again, I see another year wasted for the growth of the young players. And we don't know where this team is going. We've heard about Donovan Mitchell wanted to come and play here. Donovan Mitchell's still under contract over there in Utah. So there's no guarantees to that. We also heard many different players over the last couple of years say they've picked the Knicks to go and play for, but they got none of them. So it doesn't show you any of these superstars actually want to go there and help the New York Knicks finally get over the hump since 1973, I think it is, the last time they won a championship.
And the only way they're going to do that is finding some level of a sense of stability. String together a couple of good years. Show some player development. Last year, nice overperforming type year. Fell apart in the playoffs, and now maybe proving to be more of a fluke than we thought.
And then there are the Brooklyn Nets. I will say this about the Brooklyn Nets. I could take a pen right now, and I could write down the roster of this team. And not knowing where this roster is or what this roster is going to be in the next 3 weeks. Everybody keeps saying Ben Simmons in 3 weeks will be on this team. Well, everybody says that Kevin Durant will be 100% healthy. Do we know that for sure? And then the mandate gets lifted, and we don't even know if Kyrie Irving, after all the stuff that he has said over the last week, that if the mandate gets lifted, he's looking forward to playing in New York and Brooklyn. It doesn't make any sense. Now there's stories coming out that he still might not play home games. Now, I don't know what it is with Kyrie Irving. I've shown a lot of respect for what he has said about not taking the shots and not taking the vaccine and sticking up for who he is as a player and what he believes in. But the things that he said in the past make absolutely no sense, like the earth is flat. And he has spoken to say that he said stupid things many, many times that has hurt him as a player in the NBA. But this one makes no absolute sense. And Ben Simmons, okay, I don't know what Brooklyn Net fans are expecting from this guy. We don't know what we're expecting from this guy because even though he hasn't stepped on a court to shoot a basket yet for the last almost 2 years, he's been sitting out for a year and a half. Who's to tell me and tell you, Speedy, that Ben Simmons, when he does step on the court, he's going to make a difference to this team?
I always worried about any contending team trading for Ben Simmons. Not that I love the other end of it either for the Sixers because James Harden's bad in the playoffs, but you saw Atlanta expose that kind of identity of what Ben Simmons will contribute offensively. You foul him, you play the Hack-a-Shaq mentality to Ben Simmons, and it derails a team offense. That Sixers team had a good team offense. Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris when he plays well. Now
give me a break.
No, last year I'm talking about. No. This year
waste of space.
This year he's bad. I'm talking about last year.
$170 million of waste. Long Island native.
But last year he was good. they had a good team offense. The Nets have a better version of that when Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are both on, and as in the case of Kyrie Irving, mentally in it, which we'll never know where he is. But even so, they are two of the most prolific scorers in the league. However, again, if Ben Simmons is on the court in a situation late in the second quarter when you're in the bonus and they're going to foul him, and that could be a big derailing of a team offense. And the Nets don't have the team defense to overcompensate. Yes, Ben Simmons helps that because he's a significant upgrade over James Harden, sure, but that still doesn't justify the fact that you don't have a lot of depth. Kyrie Irving's not a good defender. Seth Curry's not a good defender.
Can we stop talking about Seth Curry? This isn't Steph Curry. I think Brooklyn Net fans, and I don't want to hear it from any of the fans out here that pretend themselves to be Brooklyn Net fans, okay? And I say pretend because they're really Knicks fans. To come out and say that Seth Curry is going to fix any of the problems that they have right now is a joke.
Maybe they did it for the fans because the fans came out for his brother. So maybe that was the incentive to bring him in.
They would pretend that it's Steph Curry playing.
They approved the attendance at the Barclays Center.
Wonderful. Before we go to break, I will say this about LeBron James and him speaking out, talking about playing with his son for at least 1 year before he retires. It is great that LeBron wants to play for his son. Who's to say that LeBron James' son is ever going to step on a basketball court in the NBA? The guy is a high school student. He still hasn't picked the team that he wants to play for in college, if he even is going to college. He could go and play in the G League. He could break his leg, break his ankle, or maybe he's just not good enough. And we've seen a lot of these kids' fathers, Kenyon Martin's son, get drafted in the second round. He's not even going to step on a basketball court in the NBA. And if he does, it's going to be minutes that mean nothing. Dwayne Wade's son, did you hear that Dwayne Wade signed him to play on his Utah Jazz G League? Does it really matter? All these things that we keep hearing about Bronny, it's fantastic. He's not his father. His father's one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. Okay, to compare and contrast what this kid's going to be, Michael Jordan's sons. Do you remember Michael Jordan's sons? Everybody was trying to compare and contrast that. Michael Jordan has two sons that are going to go play professional basketball. Not one of them were drafted. Not one of them succeeded in college. Not one of them. They're not their father. They're once in a generational type of players. It's very rare where you see a father that's a successful professional athlete that was all Hall of Famer, all world Hall of Famer, and their son becomes the same thing.
Well, it's constant media hype in today's digital media era where you're going to get that kind of thing to push it out, to create a narrative.
Like a baby, right?
Right.
Push it out like a baby.
Sure.
Maybe we'll have twins.
Oh, God. We knew coming in that LeBron's son especially, considering the hype LeBron had, the king, the chosen one that he got coming out of high school was going
You're the chosen one with that beard of yours. I mean,
we'll go with that.
Yeah, you're the chosen one.
We knew that was going to happen. Now, we'll see what he ends up being as a young player. He still's got 1 more year left of high school. I think he'll end up playing in college basketball, just especially with the NIL rules. Think about all the endorsements he's going to get.
He's going to make a lot of money.
He's going to make a ton of money.
Does he need it? His father's going to be
No, I get that, but still. He's going to get a ton of that from the NIL.
Chaz needs some money. Maybe we can give it to Chaz when we get him on for Moneyline Mania.
The NIL rules, he'll be the richest guy in college basketball right away, just based on that. Wherever he plays. He could even play for a group of 5 school. He'll get that kind of thing.
What a joke.
But even so, we'll have to see how that ends up affecting where his NBA career ends up going, and also the situation of where that particular team he'll go to will end up being in, where it makes sense for them to bring in LeBron. Because you have to think of, I don't think LeBron from a financial standpoint is going to care. I think he's going to play for his son, with his son no matter what. But still, that'll still make a difference in terms of trying to clear the roster and cater it to that kind of thing to work in that future time. And from the Lakers standpoint, he's got 1 more year left on the Lakers contract, which syncs up well. The Lakers maybe could consider moving him. I don't know about this offseason, but maybe at the trade deadline next year if they're not going anywhere, because they're already rumored to trade off Russell Westbrook. You were mentioning that rumor to trade off Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis would be the smartest thing for them to do right
That's
now.
what I'm thinking,
They
too.
could get the most for him.
Because he's been very injury-prone since their championship bubble year.
Yes.
Maybe now is the best time before he gets too old and even more worn down to be able to move that kind of thing.